Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you. So we already talked about the virtues of wudu and how do we perform it. Now let's get into, okay, when do we perform it, right? Of course, you can perform it anytime you want, but there are some times where you have to. Recommendation is before you go to sleep or, before you pray. You don't have to, but it's nice to do so. But the key is you have to be in the state of purity. So what invalidates wudu, or another way of saying is how do you know when you're in the state of impurity? So some of the, basically it's the discharge of urine, stool, passing gas. So in a nutshell, basically it's anything related to bathroom. When if you gotta go, to urinate or defecate, or if you end up farting or passing gas is a nicer way of saying that. But basically, this is all going to break your wudu. What else? Deep sleep. Deep. So this is all related to bathroom, but now there's other things as well. Deep sleep. Now, what do we mean by that? Now, imagine if you were, sleeping, your eyes are closed, and you're not aware of what's going on around you. There's a chance that you can end up passing gas, right? So when a person goes into deep sleep, and I'm not talking about light sleeping where he's just dozing off and he's somewhat aware of what's going around him or her, but it's deep sleep which will break your wudu. But if it's just dozing off, taking a quick 2-minute nap or so, that's not going to break your wudu. But deep sleep is going to break your wudu. Another one which you will never, well, hopefully you will, but this is not something that happens a lot, especially in outside of Middle East. But it's eating. You ready for this? Camel meat. Camel meat. We don't eat camel meat from McDonald's or Burger King or so. So, but the key is if you ever end up doing so, you have to, you should know that you broke your wudu. Why? Doesn't matter. But and this is something that we should know that, okay, fine, we're urinating, we wash ourselves. Now, why do we have to do wudu? The steps require you to wash your hands, your face, and your feet and so on. What does that have anything to do with urine or stool? Or how about even passing gas? Passing gas is just gas coming out, and now you don't have any. Why do you have to wash your hands? So a lot of times, don't be looking for wisdom. If you know the wisdom, good. But this is one of those things that this is a commandment of Allah. He said so, you do it. Why eating camel meat? Do we need to do some research and get into scientific reasons why camel meat requires you to do your wudu? Doesn't matter. Key is these are the points that Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, mentioned, and do it. Okay. If you end up doing any of these items, you're in the state of impurity, and therefore you should do wudu in order to get in the state of purity. Now, let's talk a little bit about the passing gas. Sometimes you think that, you have passed gas, but remember, if you're in doubt, make sure that you should, sometimes you just know it. Of course, but if there's somewhat of a doubt, if you should smell or hear something, right? Smell and hear something in order to know that you heard a sound or you smell something bad, then you know that, okay, yeah, I have passed gas. But Islam is all about being sure. Okay, if you know 100% that you have wudu, but there's a little bit of doubt, then don't worry about that doubt. Pretend that you have wudu, unless you really smell or you heard a sound. Then you know that yes, you have farted or you have passed gas. But the key is make sure that if you're in doubt, don't worry about that. Now the other is that you cannot pray, if you have to go. That's the best way I can put it. If you have to go, what does that mean? If you're like kind of jumping around, and you say, oh man, I haven't farted or passed gas. Apologize for that. I haven't urinated or I haven't defecated. No, I haven't gone to the bathroom. So, and I haven't slept. I haven't ate camel's meat, but I really gotta go. I have to go to the bathroom. Does that mean you can pray? No, because you cannot pray unless your mind, spiritually, physically is concentrated towards Allah, towards the one who created you, the one who you're standing in front of. You don't want to be having feeling that, oh man, I really gotta go. So basically, you cannot pray if you are going through that. So basically, besides all of this, related to the bathroom, urination, going to the, number two or number one, basically, number one, number two, passing gas, smelling or hearing it, deep sleep, eating camel's meat, and you cannot pray if you feel like that you have to go or to call of nature or to go to the bathroom. Here's another one that will invalidate the wudu. So it is touching private part. Touching your private parts. But the key is without barrier. Without barrier. So if you have clothes and you end up, touching your private parts, you're moving and somehow you ended up touching it, then that should be okay. But if you have, you took a shower and you ended up touching your private parts, then without a barrier, of course, no clothes on, and you end up touching your private parts, then that will break your wudu. So be careful with that and make sure that you are, if that ends up happening, then you should be renewing your wudu before you can pray. And one last one, this is not about what will break it, but what will not break it. And let me just write it in a different color, is nosebleed. Okay, nosebleed and, vomiting. Sometimes you might hear, because it is something coming out of your body, just like, when you're urinating or stool comes out of your body or gas comes out of your body. But there's other things that come out of your body as well. Spit comes out, burp comes out, tears come out. That doesn't mean that it breaks your wudu. Sweat comes out. So don't ever think that, as something coming out of your body will invalidate wudu. No, it's nosebleed and vomit. Do not, let me just put an X on it, do not break your wudu. So overall, the key is that in Islam, it's just a rule of thumb, is that if everything, when it comes to worshiping, acts of worship, and there's do's and don'ts, we cannot make up our own stuff. And just because it sounds, nasty or we don't like it, doesn't mean that it's we're not allowed to do it. Or if something that we like, we think that it's cleaner, like you can say, hey, your wudu is not completed unless you use soap, right? Because soap is cleaner than just using water. Sometimes a person can come up with that. So again, don't use your intellect or your wisdom and try to come up with your own rules on how do we worship Allah. You should worship Allah and follow the rules according to the way He has explained us, not the way we feel like it. So these are the items that we should know: going to the bathroom, passing gas, deep sleep, eating camel meat, and of course, if you have to go, then go and then pray. You're not allowed to pray if you gotta go. This is the point that I'm talking about. Touching private parts without any barrier, meaning if you totally naked, you got no clothes on, then touching private parts will break your wudu. And of course, at the last is that don't think that just because some fluids are coming out of your body, it will break your wudu. Nosebleed and vomit are one of those which will not break your wudu. So we've covered virtues of wudu, how do we perform wudu, what invalidates wudu, and there's some miscellaneous issues that I would like to discuss. So we'll move on with the next lesson on miscellaneous issues related to wudu.